Good afternoon. The Public Safety Committee will now come to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Sanye. Alderman Aldrich.
Present.
Chair Narayan.
Here.
Alderwoman Velasquez. We have 6 present. We have a quorum.
All right. At this point, I'm going to move to excused alderman, and I will entertain a motion to excuse Alderwoman Velasquez for necessary absence.
So moved. Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Alderwoman Velasquez has been excused. At this point, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of Thursday, November 16th, 2023.
Second. Previous row.
All right. We've approved the minutes. Well, actually, no, because we don't have a roll previously. So all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we've approved the minutes. At this point, we're going to move to Board Bill number 135. I am presenting that, so I'm going to turn the meeting over to Vice Chair Aldridge.
Item number 1, Board Bill number 135, introduced by Alderman Brett Narayan. An ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing the St. Louis Treasurer's Office to accept a city's addressing fines and fees equitably CAFE program grant of up to an initial amount of $10,000 plus a subsequent anticipated award up to $35,000 for project implementation by entering into a memorandum of understanding with the National League of Cities, authorizing the expenditure of such funds to the extent received, authorizing contracts and other documents to expend such funds to the extent received, and containing an emergency clause.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Alderman from the 4th, you may proceed on Board Bill 135.
Thank you, Vice Chair, members of the board. This is a fairly straightforward bill that we've worked on with the Treasurer's Office, and I'm going to have him explain a little bit more here momentarily. But the hope of this is to increase the number of drivers in the area that have valid insurance. We know that from ticketing, just in general, that there are many drivers without valid insurance, and we've seen temporary tags around the area, and one of the reasons that we know that people have temporary tags is because they do not have insurance. So this bill would create educational and empowerment services about insurance rates, costs, the fact that you need to have valid insurance, and it will connect people with insurance carriers. So it essentially gives the municipal courts a deferred prosecution option to help people actually come into compliance with the law. And with that, I'll ask Treasurer Lane to go further into detail.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Vice Chair, members of the board. So Alderman Narayan did a great explanation of why we feel that this is important and why these funds were sought out. I want to give credit to Nicole Barton, who is the executive director of the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council for the City of St. Louis. She was at a seminar and heard about the program and said, why can't we do this in St. Louis? So I appreciate the mindset to always be learning and always being able to bring something back to St. Louis that can benefit St. Louis. You all know about the issues that plague the city of St. Louis, especially when it comes to pedestrian safety. And in working with the court system, several folks have identified that folks who get pulled over for whatever the reason may be are involved in an automotive accident. Are often cited for not having insurance when it comes time to provide that insurance or fleeing the scene of a crime because they don't have insurance. You know that that would lead to additional court fees and other fines and possibly jail time. So in looking at this, we want to say, how can we be equitable? How can we also be restorative with our practices at the city? Finding someone doesn't, if I get a fine for not having insurance, that doesn't necessarily make me more likely to get insurance. Now I just have to figure out how to pay this fine. And if I already couldn't pay for insurance, the likelihood that I'm now paying this fine is probably decreased well, and then the cycle continues. So the goal of this program is to think about how do we interrupt as many cycles as possible, but also how do we make sure that we are being equitable in our practices and processes. So with the CAFE grant, and the three of us, myself, Judge McCoy, and Nicole, had an opportunity to go to DC to learn more about what other cities are doing around their different fines and fees. And I believe we learned a lot about just fees that are levied onto people, but are not necessarily making a difference in terms of what the ultimate outcome is. Again, if there are people getting pulled over for insurance, the ultimate goal is how do they get insurance, how do they get on the road, and how do we now have safer drivers on our roads. So we believe that this program will allow us to make strides in that area. So we spent a long time designing this program. Our Office of Financial Empowerment does financial literacy programming, but we wanted to specifically tailor something to this problem. And we also wanted to be asset-based, so we're actually bringing in insurance providers who will provide market rate insurance to people, because again, if we're talking about equity, if I have historically not been able to get insurance, or insurance has been a financial barrier for me, now that I've been pulled over a few times or been in this cycle of being pulled over and not having insurance, it's probably going to be even more of a financial burden. So we're trying to attack that at all avenues. We also want to know that this program is working and evaluate its efficacy. So the two numbers that you'll see that were read out in the summary, the first initial portion of the grant is to be able to have a data fellow. So we want to be able to look at data, see what is working, what's not working, and how do we improve this program and further iterations of this program. And then we also want to incentivize people going into this program, because right now we can say financial literacy, get help with insurance, but again, that is not enough of a draw. So we want to incentivize people into this program. It also allows us, the funding will also be used for us to get a fellow that will continue to build out further iterations of the program. So we have someone that's dedicated to the program development and program efficacy. I'm trying to think if I'm leaving anything out that's important. We've already started, and a question might be, well, how did you start without funding? Well, again, we offer financial empowerment services for free through our office anyway, so we design the program in-house. All the programs that we offer are free, so any program dollars, the grant dollars that we're getting are going to participants, or going to evaluating the program or continue designing and building out the program. So there are no funds that are spent on city offices or city employees. I think that's it. But I'll entertain any questions that you all have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. I will go down the list of seniority of committee members that may have questions. I will start with Alderman Odenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer, for being here today. A couple of questions. So the initial funding is $10,000, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then is there some metric or baseline that needs to be met in order to get the additional 35? And,
yes.
Okay.
And so I didn't say that part, but we've already been approved for both.
Oh.
Yeah. And I guess I should probably say why we're here and why it has to be affordable, because it's external funding that the city is expending. So we have to do this. But the grant, we've already received, we applied for the grant, received the grant, and we have been approved for both tranches.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And the parameters are such that this is for really outreach, education, and data compiling.
Absolutely,
Okay,
yep.
that's great. All right. I think this is great, and I hope that it can help build out a broader infrastructure of helping, you know, um, vehicle drivers understand that insurance is a critical part of the responsibility of driving. I also think this is an excellent step in addition to all the other things we know that temp tags, can bring. There probably will be a response that, well, we just need more enforcement. And sure, right? If there are temp tags that are committing violent crimes, sure. But this is an approach to say that the more insured drivers we can have, the better it is for citizens, residents, et cetera. So I want to thank you for your leadership on this, and I appreciate the sponsor also helping shepherd this through. And let's get this board bill passed and get you those funds.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Thank you so much. I do echo Alderman Oldenburg's sentiments about appreciating you all and the work that the Treasurer's Office continues to do, and of course, my sister Nicole Barton and the work that she does, and making sure that we have these out-the-box answers to some of the problems that we deal with here. The question about data compiling I had, so he already asked that, but who keeps that? Who will be the keeper of that data?
So that will be housed within the Office of Financial Empowerment. So we're treating it as an OFE, or Office of Financial Empowerment Program. So it'll be housed within the Office of Financial Empowerment, but in conjunction with the courts, because we're getting data from Nicole and Judge McCoy and their teams to say, who can potentially be in the pipeline and who will be successful in this program. Because, not everyone who just gets pulled over, they might be other things that they got that maybe they need to address first before they get to this program. But yes, so that's how we'll be compiling and collecting data.
Okay, great. And everybody knows how I believe in the CJCC and the work that they're doing. So working in partnership with this is going to be great. Again, being proactive. Thank you to the sponsor for carrying this legislation. And then just for anybody who's watching, these fines will make it make sense to where if we have a constituent that asks, hey, I'm working on getting my insurance right now, but I don't have, but just in case once this program is implemented, we hear that it'll be a success. We want it to be a success and there'll be measurable outcomes, but just for a fear factor, right? If somebody's like, they're getting ready to do this here in the city, can you just walk through the basic if a person gets pulled over and where this fine will come into play with them?
So yes, so you have to be in the program, but one of the things that judges can do, they have a lot of, I'll say a little bit of autonomy, so they can maybe waive a fee and say, all right, well, this cohort has already started, but you'd be a good candidate for this program. So another thing that we'll be working on doing, especially with the data that we get in, is just being identifying who is a good candidate. So if that person does get pulled over, they don't have insurance, or they get into an accident and they give their information, they don't have insurance, a judge can have the discretion to say, well, I can waive your fees right now upon your participation in this program. And again, if a cohort is already going on, they can say, well, you can go later, or there can be a sign-up list for that. So that's one of the things that could happen. I will be honest in saying there are probably going to be a lot of cases where someone isn't a good candidate. And I know the court system and Judge McCoy, the other judges, and we'll be working on ways that we can equitably support them as well.
All right, great. And I think I probably forgot to thank Judge McCoy, but he knows how much respect and admiration I have for him as well. So thank you again. I look forward to supporting this.
Thank you.
All right, Alderwoman Keys.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. And thank you, Treasurer Lane, and all of those who have put their hands and minds towards doing this bit of legislation. My question is, what creates a good candidate for this program? And is this just to start them with an insurance policy, or is this to maintain them? We do have a population, as we do all around the world, or around at least the United States, where where there's mandatory insurance, where I may have a job, I may have a car or a piece of a car that I need in order to get to work, take care of my family, whatever. How long will this insurance be able to sustain someone in a situation where they really can't afford insurance, but yet and still they need that vehicle.
Yep, absolutely. So I will say we are addressing fines and fees. We're not looking to change legislation right now, but I think that point that you made about keeping people on the road, we talk about all the time with parking tickets. You know, we don't want people to get their cars towed, but you know, we also want to uphold the law there. So to answer your question, what makes a perfect candidate? My team and I, and again, I have more thanks to give out, but my chief of staff and especially my special projects coordinator, James, we brainstormed, we sat in a room, like we do the work, and we thought about who would be a perfect candidate. And since we're piloting and we're in week 2 now, going into week 3 of the program, we're gonna take in data to see like who actually is successful and what are the metrics that make them successful. But a couple of things that we looked at is, you know, how many times they've been to court. What other court infractions they might have. So I was saying earlier, they might have some other things they take care of that are a little higher on those on the list of things that need to come off or be paid or be done before they get to the insurance piece. And we're also looking at like what are the coupling effects. So is this, you know, a bunch of parking tickets, a couple of warrants, and no insurance? Is this no tags at all and no insurance? So we're looking, I would say an ideal candidate right now is someone who probably doesn't think that they can afford car insurance, and that's what's preventing them from seeking it out and continuously coming to court, having the same conversation with the judge, like I'm trying to get it or I will get it, I promise I'll get it. And then something happens in the next 3 months and they don't have that. So someone who is probably just on the insurance side, has continuously not been able to secure that insurance. And like you're saying, maybe they're going to an insurance company and it's just, you know, way too high. And that's why we have that asset-based approach and we brought insurance companies in and brokers in on the front end to say, this is the population that we're dealing with, people who have historically not have insurance, been in these cycles, and we know that out in the open market, it would be a little bit more expensive for them. We're asking with this program, with them going through this program, can we get them the market rate essentially? And then in addition to that, the budgeting piece. So I can say, hey, you have to pay another $80 a month. And I'd be like, I don't have $80 a month, but that budgeting piece is also part of the financial education aspect of it. So we're working it in within the weeks of the program, working it into what are your expenses, what does it currently look like for you on a monthly basis, and what can you afford from an insurance standpoint, so that we're putting those pieces in and making it more concrete support.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Sonier.
Thank you, Vice Chair. All of my colleagues honestly asked all of the questions I had. I had questions too, just around the data piece and when it would be eligible. So just thank you all, both Treasurer Lane and Alderman Narayan, for your leadership on this. And Madam Clerk, may you add me as co-sponsor?
So noted.
Thank you, Alderman.
Guess it's up to me next, Ms. Keys. First, I want to say thank you, Alderman Narayan, for bringing this piece of legislation into Treasurer Adam Lane, the judge, and Ms. Barton from the mayor's office. You know, this is, I would say, a innovative policy. Like Alderman Oldenburg said, you know, this is kind of a proactive step, understanding that a lot of times we want to talk about enforcement, and we want to make sure that people who are driving, not just to protect themselves, but to protect others, actually have the right documentation if something happens. But there's also a level of education and understanding, like Alderwoman Keith said, that you know, things are only getting more and more higher, and car insurance isn't cheap. On top of having a car, on top of having a car note, on top of having car repairs, on top of having rent and so others. So to have a program that will not only educate but help individuals in the process, I really appreciate the bill sponsor and the treasurer and everyone who is part of this process to bring this forward, and would also ask Madam Clerk to add me as a co-sponsor. There was a motion to embank and everyone on the committee to be added as a co-sponsor, and there was a second by Alderwoman Sonier. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Alderman, did you have any other speakers on this piece of legislation? There was one more question from Alderwoman
Sorry.
from the 11th.
Audrey, once you embank, you have to take a vote.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, can you call roll call on the motion to embank Board Bill 135?
Alderman Odenberg. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Alderwoman Sanye. Alderman Aldrich.
Aye.
Chair Narayan. We have 6 aye votes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. It looks like we have a question from Alderwoman Keys from the 11th Ward.
Thank you. So I just thought about this. So it sounded like people who would be taking advantage of this program will have somehow have been involved with the court system. But what if I am not somebody who's been caught driving without proper insurance? Is there a mechanism to help me to get some coverage through this program?
Great question. As of right now, no. But again, we do a lot. I'll say this: we do a lot. Yes and no. So we do a lot through our Office of Financial Empowerment. You know, people who want to buy a car for the first time, a home for the first time, save, reduce their loans, increase their credit scores. So we are encouraging the public, if you have financial needs, even if it's around insurance, let us know, because now that we're connected to these insurance providers, it's probably something that we can do. So they won't be able to be in this program because we specifically want to get people out of this fine and fee circuit that they're in with the courts. But we always encourage people to reach out to our Office of Financial Empowerment. And if we don't have a resource specifically in our office, we can direct and order back people to resources that exist.
Thank you. With that, I yield.
Thank you, Alderwoman. I will entertain a question from Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
It's not a question, but I was just going to say, Alderwoman Keys made me think to ask, since people are watching, let them know how to engage with the Office of Financial Empowerment.
Oh, for sure. Thank you, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. So you can go to stlofe.org. So that's the stlofe.org, St. Louis Office of Financial Empowerment. That's our website. There's a calendar of events. So if you go to our events page, you can see all the free workshops that we have. And we have workshops every month. And some of them are virtual, so you can tap in there. We also do lunch and learn. So if you have the availability to come in midday, we'll provide you some lunch. You can come and learn about a different financial topic. We also do one-on-one financial counseling, which is all free. So if you feel like you need to talk to somebody in a one-on-one setting about how to manage your money, how to set a budget, how to save for the first time, how to get a bank account for the first time, you can do all of that with us. And we're on social media as well. So STLOFE, you can also visit STL Treasurer, and you can get to all of that. Yeah. And we also do a lot of things for our youth as well. So we have a wonderful College Kids program, and that's on the same page, or you can go to stlcollegekids.org. And I want to thank all of you. Thank you for embanking it, if that's the right terminology for it. Thank you, Alderman Narayan, for sponsoring, and thank you to my team for making this happen.
Thank you, Alderwoman. And if people just happen to come to City Hall, your office for financial empowerment is located on the second floor, is that correct?
Second floor, 220. So our entire Treasury Department, Office of Financial Empowerment, my office, right there in 220.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. To the bill sponsor, do you have any other speakers?
No, not at this time, unless there's more specific questions.
All right. Do any other member of the committee have any other questions? Seeing none, Chairman Narayan, you have the floor.
All right, well, since it's already been embanked, I don't think I need to give anyone the hard sell, but it's compliance driven. The goal here is to get people insurance so that when accidents do occur, that people are able to take care of each other. And with that, I'll ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Alderman has asked for a do pass recommendation. I would like to make a motion that we do pass Board Bill 135 out of the Public Safety Committee. Seconded by the Alderwoman from the 10th. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Alderman Odenberg. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Alderwoman Sanye. Alderman Aldrich.
Aye.
Chair Narayan. We have 6 aye votes.
By a vote of 6 aye votes, no noes, the Alderman from the 4th has sustained the motion for a do pass recommendation for Board Bill 135, and I will turn the chairmanship back over to the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. With that, was there any written testimony?
We have none.
All right. Any announcements? Looks like we have an announcement from the Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick announcement. I won't hold up people's time. I want to again thank this committee for their hard work on a recent board bill that not just passed out of this committee with flying colors, but also on the floor recently when it comes to the detention facility oversight. I know this committee has been diving into those conversations very early on. It was a great piece of legislation that was led under the leadership of Alderwoman Clark Hubbard and had great input from Ms. Nicole Barton, who is at the table, as well as Alderwoman Sonnier and yourself, Mr. Chair, to get this done. And I want to inform the committee that there will be potential future legislation and look forward to working with the committee on when it comes to access for the jail for actual board members. Very similar language that comes from the state of Missouri that allows state representatives to be able to access the jails. Even though there is a kind of good faith thing that we have at the board, I think it's always good to codify ordinance. Again, just thank everybody leadership on this committee in the mayor's office and the president's office to be able to get that done. They just had their first visit. DFOB went to the jail this week, had their first visit, so I think it's a great milestone, not just on the board, but with the help of, like I say, especially Ms. Nicole Barton. I have to give her flowers in this committee with getting that legislation past the finish line again after Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Like I always say, she bought the car, we just cleaned it up.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Yes, and I agree. That's very important work, and I was glad to see members of that oversight board finally able to enter JC. We've moved through excused members, and so at this point, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second. Whatever.
All right. All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. We stand adjourned. Thank you.